Hello, this is your favorite love-starved vampire Poo Noob, and today I'll be reviewing Lunar Knights for the DS. It is a game by Konami. Hideo Kojima, I believe, produced it. It is the fourth game of a series called Boktai. So the Boktai series is a pretty popular action RPG series for the Game Boy Advance. This is the fourth one and is the only one for the DS. Hideo Kojima was the producer, I believe, of the entire series, but he's not the director. But basically, it's a Konami game, Konami franchise. And yeah, so it's a top-down isometric action RPG dungeon crawler. Let's just call it a top-down action RPG dungeon crawler, right? And you get to play as two characters, Lucian, or is it Lucian, and Aaron. So Lucian, again, I think it's Lucian, I'm not sure. He is the guy that uses a sword. He starts off with dark attacks, and Aaron is the one using a gun that can shoot light attacks. This is in the beginning, because eventually once you defeat bosses, you will get this fellas called Tyrannials, and these guys add different elements to your attack. So the light and the dark are their own Tyrannials, and you start off the game with those two, but then you'll get like a fire, earth, wind, those kind of things. So it adds a bit of a variety to combat by changing your attacks into different elements, and because certain enemies are weaker to certain elements, and you also have like blocks in your way and can only be destroyed by the opposite element, right? And there's also like mana, which is called EP in the game, which lets you do... For Aaron, he requires EP for all of his attacks, all of his normal attacks, because he can't shoot the gun without having an element attached to it. While Lucian is able to attack with a non-elemental sword swing, which doesn't drain EP. So yeah, I do prefer Lucian because I just don't need to bother about managing the EP. And because he is kinda stronger, I feel, when he attacks. But he is melee, so you need to go closer to the enemy, which I guess opens you up to more attacks to yourself. Another part of the game is a weather modifier. So you can modify the weather by going to this guy that also upgrades your weapons. So he also modifies the weather. So the weather in the game is stuff like a desert weather, let's say, because once you unlock the fire Tyrannial, you'll be able to change the weather to a desert kind of weather. What changing weathers do is it will change the levels. It will open up certain areas in the level. So let's say there is a bunch of water, a pile of water. So there's like a pool of water here, and the changing it to the desert weather will dry up the water, and then you'll get a new path to go through, and usually that means like a treasure chest. Different weather also will affect different armors, so certain armors will need like higher humidity, higher wind speeds, stuff like that. The major mechanic of this game is light, specifically sunlight or moonlight. And this is to regenerate your EP. So Aaron regenerates EP through sunlight, Lucian regenerates EP through moonlight. You just press a button and then they'll put their hands up and then they'll collect the light. But if you're indoors, you have to find certain parts of the level, certain parts of the map, which like has a hole in the ceiling that allows light to come in, and it does have different times. So if it's at night, it's more recommended to use Lucian more, because you'll then be able to regenerate his EP. You can, like I said, upgrade weapons, you can level up, you can increase stats. There's also a Trance Mode, so whacking and killing enemies will increase this bar. You can become like a super version of yourself, and attacking enemies will either replenish your health or replenish your EP depending on which character you use. It's stuff like that. It's really powerful. So that is basically the game. Attacking in this game requires some calculation, because going in with a hack and slash approach like Devil May Cry or something will not be suitable, because this game requires quite a bit of positioning, because sometimes you will have multiple enemies attacking you at the same time, as well as the characters have a slight delay transitioning from one animation to the next animation, so there is a slight opening of vulnerability, and sometimes you feel like, I just want to put in that one more hit before he attacks, because the bosses and the enemies, they have patterns as well, and doing that, sometimes most of the time you'll probably get damaged. So it's better to play defensive in this game, because you get hit really hard, like really hard. The enemies does quite a lot of damage to you, and so you do have to just think about whether this one more attack is worth 20% of your HP. That is basically it. And once you defeat a boss, which are vampires, you have to cleanse them. So cleansing a boss requires you to play a shmup section, because you have to bring this vampire guy, which is in a casket. You have to bring him up to your spaceship and then fly through to a solar space station to cleanse the guy. But the problem is, the shmup section is fucking horrible. Like, it's so fucking bad, because it's not a traditional shmup. So it would have been better if it was a traditional shmup, like a Raiden or something. Just you moving your spaceship with the D-pad and shooting with the A button or something. It will be way better. But because it was on the DS, and this mode is so obvious that they just shoehorned in because they wanted something to use the touch controls with. So you control the ship with the touch controls, moving and shooting, mind you. So you move by holding onto your ship and then moving it on the screen, and then you have to touch the enemies to attack them, and then you can change which terrestrial you want to use. So if you use the dark one, it will be sort of like a homing attack. I believe the fire one is some sort of like a rocket launcher style attack, so it's powerful with AoE damage, but it's really very fucking boring, and using touch controls for a shmup, it really sucks. And yeah, shoehorned in. It's obvious that they just wanted a section to use the Nintendo DS's touch controls. They didn't really have to do that. That's why this entire section felt very forced, and it's not just like one. You have to go through, like, whenever you want to cleanse a vampire, you have to go through 3 of these, and at the end there's a boss waiting for you, and it's really fucking boring. It's probably the worst part. Gameplay wise is the worst part. One more thing that I didn't like was the voice acting. It's god awful horrible. It's so bad. It sounds like they pulled people off the streets randomly, and it's just so bad. Like, there's no emotions. Like, I understand some of them are robots, they play like non-emotional type characters like robots or something, but seriously, it's so, oh fucking hell. I can't understand how paid professionals can be this bad. Like, I understand paying somebody like Troy Baker, I'm not sure how much let's say he gets 1 million for one game, and paying somebody else 10,000 for one game. I understand there will probably be a difference in quality, maybe, but you won't be able to be a paid professional if you're this bad. I just don't understand how they're able to get people this bad at voice acting. Like, I can't think of another game that is this bad. Like, other games, it's so bad that it's funny kind of bad. This one is just bad. The voice acting, oh my god, it really kind of pulls you out. The game is not really like immersive or anything, but it kind of sucks that you're enjoying this game and then fucking characters start talking and just like, oh fuck, can't you guys just shut up? Anything else about this game? The soundtrack is pretty cool. It has a bit of a rocky, jazzy type soundtrack. The best song is probably the opening song. After that, the songs are still pretty okay, but the opening one never gets stopped. It's basically a jazz song, which is really cool sound. And this game is basically a dungeon crawler, and there will be a bit of grinding in that. So if you like grinding, I suggest you pick it up because it is actually a cool game, despite the stupid shmup section and the god awful voice acting. The Boktai series is popular because on the Game Boy Advance cartridge, there's a solar panel type thing. So if you play in the sun, your character gets stronger or something like that. So this game doesn't have that. You need a Boktai game from the Game Boy Advance. So depending which version you have, so there are 3 versions of the Game Boy Advance games. Depending which ones you have, like 1, 2, 3, which bonuses you'll get, because the DS does have a Game Boy Advance slot. Putting in the game into the Game Boy Advance slot and starting up Lunar Knights will be able to give you that, play in the sun kind of thing. But depending on which game you put in, then you'll get which bonuses. So yeah, I do like the concept of the sunlight and the moonlight. That's really cool. Using Lucian is quite satisfying when you defeat an enemy. Aaron not so much, but Aaron does have a freaking rocket launcher, so that's cool. Rocket launchers are always cool, and the story is pretty normal. It's let's destroy all the vampires because they're bad guys story, basically. The bosses can be quite annoying, but the Trance Mode is quite overpowered that most of the time you can destroy the bosses with just one Trance Mode. And and I do like the weather effects, the weather modifier thing, but it does require you to go through a dungeon more than once, because you will find this area and then it uses a statue to denote that this area will be affected by different weather, basically. So you go through an area and you see, oh, there's a statue there, you have to go out, go to the guy, change the weather, and then go back in. There's no like checkpoint system, there's no portal, so you have to go through the entire dungeon again, and going in and out of rooms will respawn the enemies. But other than that, cool weather mechanic, cool sunlight moonlight mechanic, satisfying as Lucian using a sword, not so much with Aaron, and lots of grinding if you're into that. I think it's a pretty cool action RPG that you can play multiple times. You can keep grinding and getting stronger and stuff like that. So yes, this is the review of Lunar Knights for the DS. I do suggest you pick it up. In terms of price, I don't think you can get it on eBay. I mean, I don't think you can get it like less than $20. I've never seen anything less than 23, 24. But I would say it's worth it if you can get it for $20. Or if you think it's worth it, is it worth 24? Then just get it at 24. So yeah, but if you do see it as cheaper than 20, I really suggest you get it because it's really cool. So that is my review of Lunar Knights for the DS. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.